Success is never random. It may look spontaneous to the outsider, but underneath every great achievement is a foundation of patterns. Clear, repeatable, and intentional. The person who rises to the top didn't stumble their way there. They built their way up, step by step, that leads you. And every step took left behind a clue, a principle, a habit, a mindset. If you study closely enough, you'll begin to notice those patterns showing up again in every success story you encounter. You see, the world may celebrate results, but the wise pay attention to routines. Behind every gold medal is a training schedule. Behind every best-selling book is a disciplined writing habit. Behind every thriving business is a series of consistent actions, most of which happen without applause. The problem is, most people are so focused on the end result, they miss the process that created it. And if you ignore the process, you miss the power. The beauty of a pattern is that it can be followed. It can be duplicated. That means success isn't reserved for a few. It's available to anyone willing to study and apply the pattern. But that takes humility. You have to admit that someone else has figured it out, and you must be willing to learn. That's the difference between wishful thinkers and real achievers. Achievers are students of patterns. It's not luck. It's not fate. It's structure, discipline repeated, principles applied. And when those things are done long enough, the outcome becomes predictable. It's the light that leads you. That's why successful people often look calm. They're not guessing anymore. They're just following a pattern they trust. So if you're tired of guessing, stop looking for miracles and start searching for models. Trace the steps, find the rhythms, and build your life around proven behaviors. Success is not mysterious. It's methodical. And once you recognize that truth, you're no longer a spectator. You become a builder. The clues to success aren't buried in some secret vault. They're visible in plain sight that leads you. Look at the habits of people who've built something meaningful. Look at the decisions they make daily. Look at how they discipline themselves when no one is watching. These aren't random traits. They're signs. Patterns evidence you that the results you admire are built on a foundation of choices made over and over again. The real question isn't, where can I find success? It's, am I paying attention to the behaviors that create it? You'll notice that successful people live by certain principles. That leads you. They don't leave their mornings to chance. They don't waste time debating every small decision. Their habits are structured to serve them, from what they eat, to how they think, to what they prioritize. They're not perfect, but that they're intentional, and that's what sets them apart. Their discipline isn't just willpower. It's strategy, a plan executed over time until it becomes part of who they are. Now, many people see these habits, but they dismiss them. Oh, that's just how she is, or he's naturally disciplined. But that's not the truth. Nobody is born with routines. Routines are built. Decisions are practiced. Habits are forged in the fire of repetition. The ones who succeed simply decided that their future mattered more than their excuses. And here's what's powerful. Those same disciplines are available to you. You can choose the habits that build strength instead of stress. You can make the decisions that move you forward, even if they're uncomfortable. It doesn't take perfection. Just consistency. One right choice at a time, stacked over days, months, and years. So if you're searching for the clues to success, stop looking far away. They're in the little things. The way you think, the way you plan, the way you respond to pressure. Change those things that lead you, and everything else begins to shift. Because the clues were never hidden. You just had to care enough to notice them and bold enough to act on them. Most people miss the clues to success not because the clues are hidden, but because they're not dramatic enough. You see, we've been trained by culture to look for the spectacular, the breakthrough moment, the overnight win, the big applause. So when success shows up wearing ordinary clothes, like waking up early, staying disciplined, or saying no to distractions. Most people walk right past it. They ignore the very things that would have changed their lives. Leads you, simply because those things didn't look important. The truth is, the dramatic moments are rare. Real success is built in the quiet, in the invisible hours when no one's watching. But since it doesn't come with flashing lights, most people don't take it seriously. They think, there's got to be more to it than that. And in that one thought, they dismiss the power of consistency. They reject the small disciplines. They overlook the simple truths. And they wonder why nothing changes. Here's what you need to understand. What's ordinary to the successful is extraordinary to everyone else. Reading every day, planning ahead, controlling emotions, following through on commitments. These are not grand events. They're subtle habits that compound over time. That leads you, and because they're not dramatic, they're easy to skip. But the very thing that's easy to skip is the thing that creates the result that leads you. If you wait for success to come wrapped in excitement, you'll keep missing it. You'll bounce from one trend to another, chasing big ideas while ignoring proven ones. Success doesn't shout, it whispers. And only those who are willing to listen closely will ever hear it. So if you're looking for a dramatic sign, stop. Instead, look at what the winners are doing when no one is clapping. Look at the boring things they repeat, because that's where the power is. That leads you. And if you're wise enough to stop looking for drama and start embracing discipline, you'll finally start creating real progress. It's light that leads you. What works in life is often simple, but don't confuse simple with easy. That's where most people go wrong. They hear advice like, wake up early, stick to your plan, save and invest, read daily. And they nod, but then they move on. That leads you, waiting for something that sounds more powerful, more glamorous, more life-changing. But the truth is, leads you. The real power is in the practices people tend to overlook, because they're not loud, they're not flashy, they just work. The reason these simple things get ignored is because they don't deliver instant results. And we live in a world that's addicted to speed. If people don't see change in a day, they toss the idea. If they don't feel motivation right away, they quit the habit. But let me tell you something. Success doesn't come from what you do once in a while. It comes from what you do consistently. Even that leads you, even when it's not exciting, especially when it's not exciting. Think about it, brushing your teeth doesn't feel life-changing, but skip it for a week and the damage starts to show. That's how most success principles work. They're like daily maintenance for your future. Skip them and the decay begins. Slowly at first, then suddenly. But if you stay consistent with the simple stuff, it compounds. That leads you. The results come later, but when they come big. That's why the simple is so powerful and so dangerous to ignore, because it lulls people into thinking it doesn't matter. But everything that seems small today grows into something significant tomorrow. That leads you, and that's why the successful stick with it. They've learned to trust the process, even when they don't see the payoff right away. Leads you. So remember this, the basics of the breakthrough. Don't underestimate them. Don't wait for something more impressive. What works is already in front of you, and it always has been. The real test is whether you'll do what's simple long enough to experience what's extraordinary. Success leaves clues. But here's the catch, most people walk right past them because they're dressed in work clothes. You see, the clues don't come with flashing lights or dramatic music. They come in the form of early mornings, focused routines, consistent effort, and quiet discipline. They show up in the lives of those who've already done what you want to do. But unless you're paying close attention, you'll miss the very things that could change your life. The reason most people ignore these clues is simple. They're looking for something else. They're waiting for a miracle, for inspiration, for perfect timing. But success doesn't wait. It moves at the speed of action, and it rewards those who study what works. And those who win, they're not guessing. They're not reinventing the wheel. They're following patterns. They've trained their eyes to spot what others overlook. The habits, the mindsets, the disciplines that lead to results. You've probably seen it yourself. Someone who seems to rise faster, go further, achieve more in less time. It's not luck. It's observation. They took notes while others were making excuses. They watched the winners, read the books, showed up when it was easier to stay home. They found the clues, and they followed them, step by step. That's the difference between the curious and the committed. But here's the danger that leads you. When you ignore the clues, you're left with guesswork. And guesswork is slow, painful, and filled with regret. Like that, why struggle for decades when you could learn in weeks by paying attention? Why repeat mistakes when someone already paid the price and left the lesson behind for you to pick up? So here's the true thing. Success isn't hiding. It's just quiet. It speaks in daily habits and personal discipline. If you're serious about your future, start tuning in. Watch closely, learn quickly, and apply immediately. The clues are there, always have been. The question is, will you follow them, leads you, or will you keep walking past them like most people do? The difference between the wise and the average isn't intelligence. It's intention. The average person sees a success story and says, "Wow, that's impressive," then scrolls on. They admire from a distance, they clap politely, but they never take the next step. The wise, however, lean in. They ask questions. They take notes. They don't just admire. They analyze. They look for the patterns, the principles, the strategies underneath the story. Because they know that success isn't meant to be worshipped. It's meant to be understood. You see, admiring success doesn't change your life. You can be inspired for a moment, even motivated for a day, but admiration without action fades. The wise know that. That's why they treat every success story like a masterclass. They don't just say, "Good for them." They say, "What can I learn?" They study how that person thinks, how they plan, how they work. They look for clues in the consistency, the character, and the mindset that made it happen. And this is where most people miss it. They believe success is out of reach, so they keep it on a pedestal. But once you realize that success leaves behind a trail, and that trail can be followed, everything changes. The wise don't feel intimidated by someone else's achievement. They feel instructed. They use it as a blueprint, a spark, a model to build their own path. The average person often waits to feel ready before taking action. The wise, they act while they're learning. They move forward while figuring it out. They understand that success isn't about knowing everything. It's about doing something with what you know. That mindset creates momentum, and momentum creates results. So don't just admire success. Don't just be inspired. Be a student. Be intentional. Study the people who've built the life you want, and then who build your own. Because when you shift from admiration to application, you stop that watching from the sidelines and start playing to win. Every successful person you study, whether in business, health, relationships, or finances, has something in common. They don't leave their days to chance. They live by routine. And that routine isn't random. It's carefully chosen and consistently applied. Because they understand something most people overlook. Your results are simply a reflection of your routines. What you do daily creates what you have eventually. Routines are the blueprint of achievement. They may look boring from the outside. The early wake-ups, the structured schedule, the focused blocks of work. But those are the quiet engines of progress. While others rely on motivation, successful people rely on rhythm. They've built habits that serve their goals, not their emotions. That's why their lives move forward, even on the days when they don't feel like it. Now, here's the part that most people miss. Your current routine is already creating results. The question is, are you getting the results you want? It's not a mystery. It's math. You can't have a lazy routine and expect a powerful life. You can't have scattered habits and expect focused results. If you want to change your life, change what you're repeating. That's what routines really are. Repeated decisions. And repeated decisions turn into identity. You're not just doing the routine. Eventually, the routine is doing you. That's how successful people become consistent. They've hardwired excellence into their days. They don't rise to the level of motivation. They rise and stay at the level of their routine. So if you want different results, don't start with goals. Start with your day. Structure it, guard it. Build a routine that's aligned with your future, not your feelings. Because in the end, your routine is either your ladder or your limitation, and every day you're climbing one or the other. Success doesn't shout. It doesn't beg for attention. It doesn't need to. Because real success is proven in action, not in noise. You'll notice that the people who are truly building something real, something lasting, aren't busy talking about it all day. They're too focused, too consistent, too grounded in doing the work. Their actions speak with a quiet authority, while others are still trying to impress the world with empty words. You see, talk is cheap because it's easy. Anyone can talk a big game. Anyone can promise, boast, and post about what they plan to do. But results don't come from intention. They come from execution. The world doesn't respond to your wishes. It responds to your work. And the successful know that. That's why they don't spend their energy trying to be loud. They let the results do the talking. There's a kind of quiet confidence that comes from consistency. When you've put in the hours, when you've kept your promises to yourself, when you've stayed the course long after others quit, you don't need to prove anything to anyone. Your life starts to speak for itself. Your discipline becomes your RA. Your habits become your credibility. The people who shout the loudest about success often haven't built it yet. They're still trying to convince themselves. But the ones who've done the work walk differently. They know where they're going, and they don't need applause to keep going. Their fulfillment isn't in being seen. It's in becoming capable. So remember, you don't need to be loud to be powerful. You just need to be consistent. Keep showing up. Keep executing. Let your actions speak so clearly that no words are necessary. Because in the end, true success doesn't roar, it whispers through results. One of the greatest tragedies in life is not failure, it's repetition. Repeating the same mistakes, living the same problems year after year, all because we ignored the signs. Life is generous with its lessons, but most people are too distracted or too proud to receive them. The truth is, success leaves clues, and so does failure. The difference is what you do with the information. You see, every setback, every disappointment, every "I should have known better" moment is a flashing neon sign saying, learn this now or repeat it later. But too often, people brush it off. They blame circumstances, they blame others, or worse, they move on without reflection. And what happens? The same issue returns in a new form. Different faces, different places, but the same result. Why? Because they didn't stop to study the clue. There's a high cost to ignoring what life tries to teach you. It shows up in delayed progress, lost time, and painful cycles. The wise pause and ask, what is this moment trying to teach me? They examine the outcome and trace it back to the choice. They don't let a mistake pass without mining it for wisdom. That's how you stop history from repeating itself. Not with luck, but with lessons. Success is rarely about doing something brilliant once. It's about avoiding the avoidable and learning faster than most. When you treat every experience like a teacher, your growth accelerates. And suddenly, you're not living in circles. You're climbing in steps. The pain wasn't wasted. The mistake wasn't final. It became part of your education. So the next time life gives you a hard lesson, don't just move on. Write it down. Reflect on it. Share it. Apply it. Because when you ignore the clues, you repeat the pain. But when you pay attention, you upgrade your future. The fastest way to succeed in life. It's not to reinvent the wheel. It's not to try and figure out everything on your own. It's to find someone who's already done what you want to do and follow their trail. That doesn't mean copy their life. It means study their mindset, learn their disciplines, understand their sacrifices. Because success is not random. It leaves footprints. And those who pay attention can walk a shorter path with fewer bruises. You see, too many people waste years trying to find themselves while ignoring the proven paths of those who've already built something remarkable. If someone has already climbed the mountain, wouldn't it make sense to ask them which path they took, which rocks were loose? Where did they almost fall? That kind of wisdom is free, but it requires humility. And unfortunately, most people would rather struggle alone than admit they need a guide. Mentors, books, interviews, they're all treasure maps. When someone lays out their process, they're handing you a shortcut wrapped in sweat and scars. But shortcuts only work if you walk them with the same discipline and mindset. Following the trail doesn't mean you avoid the work. It just means you avoid the wrong work. The kind that drains you and leads nowhere. The truth is, success isn't just about working hard, it's about working right. And the right way is almost always learned from someone who's already done it wrong enough times to figure it out. That's why the greats are often great teachers. They've paid the price and they want to help others avoid the unnecessary toll. So don't be too proud to follow someone's lead. Don't be too stubborn to take notes. The path is already marked if you have the eyes to see it and the wisdom to walk it. Remember, the climb is still yours, but the map, that's a gift.